Hi all, I'm Azure. Today we're going to be discussing the worlds of Kingdom Hearts 4 because, as of the writing of this video, we've only had one world confirmed, one world implied, and one world that's going to most likely be kind of smaller playable sections, which we will get into. But I want to also talk about what my ideal world lineup is, the kind of setup for each world, what I think the real chances are for getting into Kingdom Hearts 4, and of course, spoilers for the movies that I'm going to be talking about, so let's get started. First, I want to address the number of worlds that can appear in Kingdom Hearts 4 because I think it's very clear that they want to go extremely big with Kingdom Hearts 4, bigger than ever, even bigger than the massive pseudo open worlds that we got in Kingdom Hearts 3. So, first, let's take a quick look at the number of worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3. In this game, if you count every single world that has some level of gameplay, no matter how small, it can be just a single boss fight or just a single Heartless fight, the amount of worlds comes up to 15. The way this breaks down is that there are 9 fully playable, fully explorable worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3, those being Olympus, Twilight Town, Kingdom of Corona, Toy Box, Monstropolis, Arendelle, San Francisco, the Caribbean, and the Keyblade Graveyard. The 6 worlds that we have left with kind of smaller sections of gameplay are the Dark World, otherwise known as the Realm of Darkness, the Land of Departure, the Final World, Scala ad Caelum, Radiant Garden, technically even though it's just Merlin's house, and Quadratum with the Azure secret boss. I think 9 fully playable worlds should be the baseline for Kingdom Hearts 4. However, there is a slight caveat to that in the next section we are going to talk about when we start talking about what my ideal world setup is, and that is that Nomura himself has said that there's likely going to be less worlds in Kingdom Hearts 4 just due to how big they're trying to make these worlds, so there is that to consider. But for now, I'm going to talk about these as if we're thinking of 9 fully playable worlds just like Kingdom Hearts 3. So let's get into the first world of this video. The first world, of course, is the only fully confirmed world that we have for Kingdom Hearts 4 so far, and that is the brand new world of Quadratum. It's very clear that Quadratum is going to be this colossal world, potentially bigger than anything we've ever seen in the series prior, and I think there's a potential way to split Quadratum up into multiple, smaller, but very content dense chunks that could have an excuse for having smaller numbers of worlds in the game. The way this could be very easily done is that we know that Quadratum is based on the real world Tokyo and based on Riku's dream in Kingdom Hearts 3 for the base game's secret ending. We see Sora in Shibuya and we see Riku in Shinjuku, two of Tokyo's most well-known wards. These could easily be split off into their own sizable worlds because, Shibuya, Shinjuku are both massive wards. There's a lot that they could do with those wards. And these could easily be explored as the game progresses because, again, Nomura also says that Quadratum is a world that Sora is going to, go to Disney World and come back to Quadratum. So he's constantly going to be making progress within Quadratum itself, kind of acting like a hub world. He didn't say that exactly, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting about Quadratum, is that it's going to act as a hub world, which is something that Kingdom Hearts has never really had before. But these aren't the only wards of Tokyo that we know will be in this game, as Nomura also said in an interview that the apartment that Sora wakes up in the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal trailer is actually in the Minato ward, which is directly adjacent of both Shibuya and Shinjuku. There could easily be more. There could be 4, 5, maybe 6, who knows. They could end up doing Chiyoda, which is famous for the Imperial Palace, and Akihabara, which is also adjacent to Shinjuku and Shibuya, so the distance, not that far, could very easily be done. But making it so that Sora is in these almost 4 centralized wards is kind of sucky in a way, because while it could very easily work, it would be a shame to limit Sora to that such a small area of Tokyo. When there's wards like Taito with the big Sensoji Temple, there's the Tokyo Skytree in Sumida, or there's even the Tokyo Dome in Bukyo. We're going to most likely have to wait and see how Nomura decides to do these worlds. I think it's going to be very clear very quickly once they start revealing more information about Kingdom Hearts 4, just how exactly they're going to approach these worlds. But with that, if we ignore everything I just said about Quadratum and keep to the 9-world structure, this is how I would structure it, beginning with... The next world is the one that I said was implied to be confirmed, and that is Star Wars. Yes, I can't believe it either. A Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts. Never in a million years could I have ever predicted pre-Disney that Star Wars would be in Kingdom Hearts. And in fact, I'll be honest, I'll be real, I used to be a hater of the idea. I thought it was fine with having like a Death Star trench run in the gummy ship. I thought that would be fine. But now I think I'm totally behind the idea of having Star Wars. Now, first of all, you're probably wondering, what the hell, Azure? What do you mean it's implied to be confirmed? Well, let me give you exhibit proof right here. This, my friends, is a shot from the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal trailer. Seems normal at first, until you notice the massive mechanical elephant in the room that is this foot right here, which is actually the foot of an ATST. And here is an official render for comparison, is an ATST foot. There's absolutely no question about it, which pretty much confirms that Star Wars is in. And I only say implied because they haven't fully come out and said Star Wars is in Kingdom Hearts 4 yet. I assume that will come soon. Maybe Star Wars Celebration 2027? Maybe? Who knows? But with that revelation, it's very clear to me that they're going to be doing Episode 6, which is Return of the Jedi for this world, as they're in a foresty environment, and of course, the only place that an ATST can be in a foresty environment is, of course, the forest moon of Endor. The question then becomes, where does Sora come into all this? Because that's a very tricky question. Because obviously, there's multiple planets that they explore in this movie. You know, does he come in during the start of the story in Jabba's palace with Leia? Or is it when Luke enters the palace? Is it on Jabba's sail barge? The first attack on Endor? The Death Star? We really have no idea where Sora could come in here. But if you ask me personally, I think that the best place to put Sora is in the first initial attack on Endor. Sora will essentially be walking into the recon mission for the Rebel strike team. They'll give Sora the lowdown of the events of stuff that happened on Tatooine with Jabba and such, and everything leading up to this point. This is when they're spotted. Luke and Leia give chase on the speeder bikes, and I think this point right here is a moment that could be really cool to have Sora join in with the speeder bike, or perhaps even give Sora his own speeder bike. Of course, we know Keyblade gliders exist. These are something that have existed since Birth by Sleep, but we've only ever seen the likes of Terra, Ventus, and Aqua using them before, so I think it'd be really cool to give Sora like a kind of speeder bike, or just some kind of Keyblade glider vehicle for him to have in this moment. And then I think something that would be really fun is for, instead of Sora to be captured with the strike team, I think it'd be more fun to have him go along with Leia to the Ewok village once they're discovered. And then, of course, the team gets captured, taken back to the Ewok village. And then I think that's when Sora can help out with the shield generator attack. Maybe even not potentially helping with the initial attack, but helping with the Ewoks when they go to save Han and the strike team before they get captured. And then that's when Sora can find out that Luke's gone. Now the question then becomes here, what does he take to get from Endor to the Death Star? Because of course, I don't think we'll have the gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts 4 personally. We're in Quadratum, we're in a totally separate reality. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to have a gummy ship here, really. So I think something that could be cool is he could maybe take a TIE fighter, or perhaps, again, use a Keyblade glider. Because he could easily, in Kingdom Hearts quote-unquote logic, have Keyblade armor. Would be really cool to see Sora with Keyblade armor finally, and he could take his Keyblade glider up there. And then I think it would be super interesting to get some more fantastic work from the incredible Einhander team that helped with the Kingdom Hearts 3 gummy ship combat. So Sora is allowed to help Lando turn the tides of the space battle before getting to the Death Star. And then I don't think the Death Star would fully be explorable, but I do think it would be cool to have Sora, fight through the corridors, fighting through stormtroopers or Heartless, or nobodies, I guess. I honestly don't know how they're going to do enemies in this game. Before getting to the throne room, maybe having a small mini-boss with the Imperial Royal Guards. But then, as he proceeds into the throne room, finding Luke, who's already started his fight with Vader at this point, I think, the Emperor, watching on as the fight progresses. I think it would be super interesting that if they add this, like, powerful darkness emanating from the Emperor, much like Xehanort is able to sense darkness in the Queen of Hearts in Dark Road, Sora should be able to sense this, really powerful darkness coming from the Emperor, because Sora has this very same ability as Xehanort that he can, sense the feeling of others and, sense the heart of others. So I think it'd be really cool to show that kind of concept for Sora here with the Emperor. I think that then Sora, along with Luke, should be able to turn the tide on Vader. However, this is when the Emperor gets involved. He overpowers them both, and I think that's something that would be an insanely cool curveball to throw. Is that, have it be like the normal movie events, have Luke be electrocuted, put out of commission, but, and this is kind of taking a little bit of a page out of the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga book here. What if Vader has that change of heart that he has in the movie and begins to stop Palpatine, but because Sora's there, he's actually able to properly fight instead of just, getting shocked to near death. So, you can have a Emperor Palpatine boss fight with Vader in your party. I think that would be sick as hell. The chances of that happening, honestly, no idea. But I think it would be awesome to see that happen with, Sora sensing the good, sensing the light within the heart of Darth Vader fighting to stay alive. This can also help Sora realize that, maybe darkness isn't all that bad. The outcome will still, of course, be the same. Vader will still pick him up, throw him down the pit, but with the amount of damage he's taken, the movie still ends the same way with him dying, with Sora escaping with Luke, thinking about his friends in the end of the world. Maybe, could be cool to see like a Xehanort or an Ericus kind of Force Ghost, giving him an ominous cryptic message before he goes back to Quadratum. I think that would be really cool. But I think the main thing here is that the themes of light and dark, having this very grey area in between, is going to be essential for this world. And I think it fits not only the tone of Kingdom Hearts 4, but also just the general tone of Kingdom Hearts going forward. The next world we have is a world based on Coco, which is a fantastic movie in its own right, by the way, and I would argue is potentially one of the most fitting worlds that we're going to be talking about today, with its themes of death and grief being central to that movie and to Kingdom Hearts 4's plot as a whole, because of course, Sora, we know, is essentially dead. He abused the power of waking to rewrite history twice, and as a result faded from existence, ending up in Quadratum, which Strelitzia herself, of course, describes as an afterworld of sorts, or an afterlife for them. So I really want to see Coco in Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, I think that the idea of the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, could be something that is profoundly beautiful to add to Kingdom Hearts 4 for this reason. Both in Mexican tradition and in the movie, the Day of the Dead is the one day that families can see their deceased loved ones again, so long as they keep their photo on their sanctuary, or at the very least keep memories of them. So I think that this right here could potentially, in a very beautiful way, be a chance for Sora to see Kairi again through the Day of the Dead. And I think it could be like a very poignant experience for Sora in this moment, especially seeing that they're already putting emphasis on contacting people from beyond the grave through the use of the rotary phone that we saw back in the screenshots in May last year, which, if you didn't know, and I plan to do a larger video on this topic, is based on the idea of the Casino Denwa, which is also known as the wind phone, which a designer made in order to cope with the death of their cousin, using it to, speak words into this phone that would never have a reply, but mainly more use it as a coping mechanism. So I think that is something that could be potentially really cool to see in Kingdom Hearts 4. In terms of structure for this world, I think a good place to start Sora is when Miguel first enters the Land of the Dead, meeting his deceased relatives and going along with Hector as they try to get the blessing from Ernesto. You could put Sora in the living world beforehand up to the point where Miguel finds Ernesto's guitar. That could work. They'd basically just have to make it so that the effects of the guitar also affect Sora at the same time, just based on proximity. I think both could work either way, to be honest. I think it'd be really cool to have Sora in the Land of the Dead with the skeletal look that all deceased people have in this movie, since he is technically dead. So it would be cool to, give them that excuse to give Sora another really cool looking alternate look to fit in with the world. I think that the final boss could definitely be some form of Ernesto, especially since I think we can take the same idea from Dark Road, that Sora, having the ability to see into the hearts of people like Xehanort, could see the darkness of Ernesto, with the Queen of Hearts in Dark Road being Wrath most likely. Perhaps Ernesto's could be Gluttony, since he stole Hector's songs after murdering him. So I think having some kind of Heartless based on that idea would be really, really cool. Overall, I think this is, honestly, of all the worlds we're going to talk today, my top pick for Kingdom Hearts 4, just based purely on how well it fits the themes Kingdom Hearts 4 is going for. And I know for a fact I'm not the only one who thinks this. I've seen many people ask for Coco, and I think the chances of having this as a world in Kingdom Hearts 4 are extremely high. So I'm really hopeful that this is a world in Kingdom Hearts 4. The next world we are going to talk about is, yes, the return of Wreck-It Ralph. But this time, we're having him in a real Kingdom Hearts game. I think, while Coco is fantastic, it's very good for its themes of death and grief, and just generally fitting Kingdom Hearts 4's vibe, I think Ralph, as we know, serves a different purpose altogether in the Kingdom Hearts series. We know that it's already been a world in Union Cross, and surprisingly plays a pivotal role in that game, and I want to make it clear, my want for this world purely comes from the inclusion of the Union Cross story and the implications it has on Kingdom Hearts 4 as a wider game, because technically speaking, we've already done the plot of this movie in Union Cross, and I've heard Ralph Breaks the Internet is not great, so this is mainly a cope on behalf of the Union Cross story's inclusion. Now, we know that the player and Ephemer go to this world to chase down a Darkling, which is a Keyblade wielder that's fallen to darkness, and they find the residents there. They find Ralph, Fix-It Felix, Vanellope, etc. But the thing is that makes this world so much more interesting in the context of Kingdom Hearts is that the characters inside what is known as Game Central Station overall, with each different game having its own name, Niceland or Cybug Sector, for example, they're all aware that they're within a data world. They're all aware that they exist in a game. This is very important because it comes during the Union leaders' realization that they are inside a data version of Daybreak Town, not the real version. Another reason why this is an extremely important world is that this world forcefully links itself to Data Daybreak Town, which is crazy. This Daybreak Town should only be able to access the worlds that exist within the Book of Prophecies. We still don't know how or why this happens. With the datascape and the idea of data in general being so important to Kingdom Hearts now, I think Ralph should 100% be brought back. However, I think this is all without mentioning the most important reason why Wreck-It Ralph needs to come back. And that is, currently, as of the end of Union Cross, there are currently 4 primordial darknesses locked in the cable between Data Daybreak Town and Game Central Station. There's no way of truly knowing if that connection is cut off for good. I highly doubt Nomura would eliminate almost a third of the primordial darknesses just like that. The player and Ephemer locked both sides of the cable, and I still feel like there's an insanely good chance Sora's going to go to Game Central Station and unknowingly unlock that side of the cable linked to Game Central Station, releasing all 4 of the primordial darknesses on the world, and essentially giving them a free pass to tear the world asunder, or even worse, infect other worlds. This would put a massive wrench in the Master's plans, as he's going under the assumption that these darknesses are in Data Daybreak Town, not the lanes between. And with the idea of the datascape, this could potentially mean they go to something like the Radiant Garden computer or the Twilight Town computer, and, access their data and learn from their, research. This could potentially be a really important moment in a really important world. So I feel like, honestly, more than anything, it has to be in Kingdom Hearts 4. There's no other way it can't be. Another world I would really like to see in Kingdom Hearts 4 is that of Encanto. I think it could work really well as an early world for Kingdom Hearts 4. There could be a lot of relation between Sora and Mirabelle. Mirabelle being part of the family Madrigals, who all have their own unique powers that manifested when they were young kids. Isabella can make flowers, Lisa has extreme strength, Dolores has super hearing, but Mirabelle has no powers. She never manifested them, which I think, if used as an early world, could really work well, because it's very likely that the explanation for Sora losing all his powers and being reverted to level 1, in a gameplay sense at least, will be because he abused the power of waking and was banished to Quadratum. So having Sora go throughout this world with Mirabelle, learning that it's okay not to have powers, because not having power is, its own kind of power in itself, because you learn to think practically and outside the box. I think there's also some very interesting parallels with Sora and Mirabelle, because like I said, Mirabelle was not born or did not manifest these powers as a child. And, if you think about it really, Sora was never given powers as well when he was a kid. If you remember, Birth by Sleep, Kairi accidentally went through the bequeathing ceremony by touching Aqua's Keyblade after she became a master, and then Riku on the Destiny Islands was given the bequeathing ceremony by Terra. Sora never got any of that. He did get Ventus's heart, but it's been confirmed since that that is not the reason why Sora has the power to wield a Keyblade. Also, I think with Sora finding out about the family candle losing its light, could perhaps maybe link it to darkness in a way that the others can't, and this is how he helps Mirabelle. Maybe Sora takes on the darkness haunting each of the Madrigals. He senses that darkness, not in like a malicious sense, like how he could maybe do with Palpatine or Ernesto, but more so sensing the fears and doubts of each of the characters, because fears and doubts is also another way that darkness can manifest in the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, as there's no real quote-unquote villain, so to speak, in Encanto, it's kind of hard to think about where they could go with the final boss of the world. Potentially, we could have maybe a small skirmish with Lucio or one of the foretellers here, seeing as it's an early world. In my head, setting up the foretellers, Lucio, and the Master as a threat, the earlier is, the better, to be honest. Another aspect of the world that I haven't mentioned yet is, of course, Bruno, who can see into the future, which, in terms of Kingdom Hearts, is a pretty insane connection, seeing as how we have the Master of Masters who can see into the future using the gazing eye and writing what he sees in the Book of Prophecies. Bruno in Encanto is seen as this really dark, haunting presence across the entirety of the movie, and it's forbidden to talk about Bruno. So I think having Sora interact with Bruno, with Sora being as light side as they come, not as like absolute as say like an Ericus for example, seeing Bruno who in a lot of ways could really remind him of Riku, a character who has the power of light at their side, but also commands the dark. So I think Sora would want to help Bruno in that case, and that could be the part of the world where Sora's trying to convince everyone that Bruno's darkness isn't bad, because it's something that he can't control, and isn't necessarily something that's an ill omen. Riku, his best friend, is a character who commands the power of the dark, but does so at the side of the light, so that's something that he could tell them most likely. I do think Encanto would be fantastic for setting up some more themes of Kingdom Hearts 4, with Sora perhaps, feeling a bit more that light and dark can live side by side. He's seen it with Riku, and now he's seen it with Bruno and the Madrigals. The next world, oh boy, where do I begin with Treasure Planet? I think out of every movie, TV show, Game & Square's catalogue that has ever been suggested as a world in Kingdom Hearts, I think Treasure Planet is far and away the most popular pick I think I've ever seen. We've been requesting this world for years. Even though it would have worked perfectly for a world in Kingdom Hearts 3 with the idea of the map to Treasure Planet, using that to find the 7 princesses of Heart, I think still Treasure Planet works as a world in Kingdom Hearts. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about themes. Freedom is a major theme and motif in Treasure Planet, and I think with Sora, freedom has always been something that he's pursued no matter how tied down by fate he is. You only have to look at the fact that Sora, literally tore a fabric in time twice to get to where he is right now by saving his friends first and then saving Kyrie during Remind again twice. So I think that Jim Hawkins and Sora could be an absolutely fantastic pairing together. They're both very similar, they're both very carefree, and again, they always seek that kind of sense of adventure. We could eventually get a section in the world with Sora flying using Jim's Solar Surfer, which I think could be a potentially super cool minigame. John Silver, I think, could be a fantastic villain for the world, even though he isn't a villain by the end of the movie. I think that while I loved the Caribbean in Kingdom Hearts 3, the problem I've always had with that world is that we don't really get to interact with Davy Jones, which kind of sucks. He's a very imposing villain. You only really get to see him in the final boss section of the world, which I mean, they do kind of do most of the movie off screen, which again sucks. The exact same thing happened for Frozen, so it's never good when Square do that. So if they brought John Silver in and had more interaction with Sora, I think that would potentially alleviate the issues that could be brought across, just like with Davy Jones. Another thing I want to address is that they have already tried Treasure Planet in Kingdom Hearts before. Yeah, no kidding. They have actually tried it. It was discovered that back in 2016, a data miner by the name of Irks on YouTube found, while going through a bunch of unused rooms or like cutscene rooms in Dream Drop Distance, that there's a very, very low polygon, simple model of an untextured pirate ship that in the code of the game has the prefix of TP, which usually in the Kingdom Hearts games, these worlds will have a code name for the world in the code so that, for example, Kingdom Hearts 3's Monstropolis has the prefix of MI, which is code for Monsters Inc., or Toy Box has TS, which is Toy Story. TP could very well easily mean Treasure Planet, and I can't think of any other ship in any other movie or TV show that could correlate to that prefix. Some people would, of course, think about maybe Captain Hook's ship in Neverland, but I think personally it's Treasure Planet. So it's really interesting to know that Treasure Planet was planned for Dream Drop Distance but was scrapped. But overall, I think, it's time we got Treasure Planet. We've been asking for it for so long at this point. Just give us it. You know what we want, Amura. Now, I won't lie, guys. I know it's only been 2 games, but I really want Toy Story back in Kingdom Hearts. I would very much like to see Toy Box return in Kingdom Hearts 4. We know through interviews with Nomura that Kingdom Hearts 3's version of Toy Box canonically takes place between Toy Story 1 and 2. Now, I think doing Toy Story 2 would be really cool. I think going to Al's Toy Barn could be cool. Going to the airport would be an awesome section to experience in gameplay. But I think we should skip to and go to Toy Story 3, personally. Sora getting to see all the toys again, and even getting to meet new toys he hasn't seen yet, like Bo Peep, or Slinky, or Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, Jessie, etc., would be really fun to see. And it would also be nice to see Sora and Buzz being friends from the get-go, instead of Buzz being so antagonistic towards Sora for like 95% of the world like he was in Toy Box in Kingdom Hearts 3. With the structure of the world, you could honestly just throw Sora in right from the start of the movie with the toys in Andy's room and going to Sunnyside. I think it'd low-key be kind of funny seeing Sora get ragdolled by the kids in the daycare along with the other toys. This brings me to Lotso, which is a massive part of the reason why I want Toy Story 3 specifically, because I think he could show the envy in his darkness manifestation. You see where I'm going with all these darknesses? It's clear that the primordial darknesses being locked away inside the Foretellers, Lucio, and the Master are of course all based on the 7 deadly sins, going off of all of their names being derived from those sins, if not just being their names verbatim. I think having a mini boss against Lotso's henchman toys would be really cool as well, and I'd absolutely love to see how they would handle the incinerator scene at the end of the movie, or if Sora's even in it to begin with. Given Sora's abilities to, literally fly, to be able to run up walls, I could easily see him running with the toys, and after Lotso's betrayal, using his new, keychain, grappling hook, whip thing to pull himself up to Lotso, or even honestly just the air step up to Lotso, and that's where we'll get our final boss for the world. Now, whether that comes in the form of Lotso actually fighting us, or having again that darkness manifestation fight us, either way, I think it could be really cool. I think also Toy Box could be important to bring back because, as we know, this is the first introduction we ever got to our mystery man Yozora. We still have absolutely no idea how or why Yozora was introduced in this world in this manner, but perhaps we could have some further connection to Yozora in this world before meeting him at Quadratum. Sora could maybe even be reminded that Toy Box is the first place that he saw this face and heard that name. Really, I just want Toy Story to come back. I had so much fun in Toy Box in Kingdom Hearts 3. I think it's one of the best Disney worlds in the series, and I would actually love to see them actually adapting one of the movies for the next time they approach Toy Story in a Kingdom Hearts game. And finally, to round out the Disney worlds, we have Moana. I think this is one of the most obvious picks out of every potential world ever. It was insanely popular, it's Disney's sixth highest grossing movie of all time. It's their fifth highest grossing movie over the last decade, surprisingly Moana 2 being their second highest of all time. Moana has such uncanny similarities with a lot of the concepts in Kingdom Hearts that I think it'd be incredibly stupid not to include this as a world at some point at the very least. You have Moana, a young girl on an island yearning for the outside world, the heart of Te Fiti being the heart of the world, a very Kingdom Hearts 1 concept. When the heart of Te Fiti is stolen by Maui, Te Fiti turns into this dark being, almost like a Heartless, no? This is without even mentioning that this specific shot of Moana sitting on this specific looking coconut tree is almost shot for shot the same as any of the shots of the Destiny Island trio sitting on the Palpu fruit tree on Destiny Islands. I think this world is just so straightforwardly Kingdom Hearts pilled that it needs to be in Kingdom Hearts 4. If not just a game in general, this is without mentioning that I mean it's literally on a tropical island, and we had a whole joke in Kingdom Hearts 3 about Sora being an islander when they go to Arendelle. So Sora would really be in his element in this world, and it would be really fun and kind of bittersweet in a way to see Sora having fun on an island and having that, like intercut with his time with Riku and Kairi on the Destiny Islands. And Sora will surely see that, and he'll think of them when he's there. And I think you could honestly play Sora at any point in this movie, and it fits because, again, the movie and themes are just themselves so intrinsically linked to Kingdom Hearts. I personally would like to see him appear at the beginning, though, getting to meet Moana at the start and seeing her go through that longing to see the outside world that Riku once had. And that could kind of help him spring into action because, he's seen it all before. He's experienced someone longing for the outside world, and maybe this time he can help them see it in a way that, it doesn't make them fall to darkness. Not to mention, I think a Heartless-ified Te Fiti would be awesome. Hell, even just a regular, Te Fiti boss would be sick as hell. You probably wouldn't have the freedom of the Caribbean, but honestly, they could still do something like kind of semi-open world with Moana for sure, with Sora being on the raft. But yeah, Moana is just a home run, straight shot Kingdom Hearts 4 world. There's absolutely no question about that. Finally, I want to briefly talk about Kingdom Hearts original worlds because I'll be honest, guys, I'm really not sure what they're going to do in this respect. I've already talked about Quadratum and how they could potentially approach that by cutting it into smaller kind of chunks of a world rather than having, multiple big original worlds. But the original worlds of Kingdom Hearts are just so sacred and so beloved at this point by the community that it really would be a shame to not to get to go to any of them. Of course, understandably, Sora can't go since he's in on reality, which is why it was an insanely pleasant surprise to see that screenshot of Mickey in Scarlet at Kylum. We of course learned that Mickey would be going to explore and search for answers in Scarlet at Kylum at the end of Melody of Memory, so it makes sense for him to be playable there, but I actually have a little bit of a conspiracy theory regarding this section, because I actually think that this is where they're going to put the story elements of Missing Link that we were originally intended to have at this point. We should be playing Missing Link right now, and most likely we would have had it not been cancelled. But I think this Mickey section was made in response to that cancellation, because that cancellation is not something that would have happened overnight. That is something that would have been months in the making. Another not really smoking gun, but I'd say it's damn near close, is the fact that with Sora's Quadratum screenshot, the gameplay screenshot, we have a fully built Quadratum style command menu, which it was crazy to see that this early, but if you notice, Mickey's HUD is just the regular default developer HUD, which says to me that at the time that this was released, this was a very recent addition that was still early enough in development that they didn't have a new HUD for it. They didn't even, put the Kingdom Hearts 3 Scala menu over it. They could have very easily done that, which could actually maybe mean that this is the Missing Link version of Scala at Kylum that Mickey's in, meaning they wouldn't have the command menu ready because it's an entirely different style. We really have to just wait and see what this entails in that respect, because it's certainly an interesting idea, and we haven't had a fully playable Mickey that we can actually control since Kingdom Hearts 2, so I'm really excited to see what they do with him. In terms of other worlds, I'm really not sure. I think for the most part, if anything, any of the original worlds will unfortunately be relegated to cutscenes. We'll probably get to see Lee and Isa researching Subject X in Twilight Town, Kairi training with Aqua in the Land of Departure, maybe some Radiant Garden stuff with Lee and Isa looking in the prisons beneath the castle for the first time since Kingdom Hearts 2. It's really unclear. We do know at least that Olympus will be returning in cutscene form, since Donald and Goofy were looking for Hades at the end of the trailer. Likely going to be full circle to what happened in Dark Road, as Xehanort's class would use the underworld to contact their deceased upperclassmen. Donald and Goofy could perhaps be trying that here, but since Sora's in another reality, perhaps they come across a different lost soul here, Maybe Strelitzia, maybe Ericus, maybe Baldur. I'm very interested to see what they do with this scene, because there's a lot of ways they could take this. I think there's a fairly decent chance we see the Keyblade Graveyard again in a playable capacity. It is, the big be-all, end-all world where the Keyblade War happens. The final world, maybe, could have a playable section where we try to meet the Nameless Star again. But I think what would be seriously cool is if we could visit Daybreak Town. And now, I know it was reduced to rubble at the end of Union Cross. I'm aware of that. But we know that worlds can be restored after falling to darkness. I'm sure Daybreak Town's no different. It would just depend if that Daybreak Town, having been kind of buried underwater and having Scala at Kylum built on top of it, would kind of change that in a way. It kind of just depends, I guess. It would be super cool to see that in a playable form in a real Kingdom Hearts game though, so I would really like to explore Daybreak Town after watching Keyback cover. It looks so expansive, and I love to go to, the Master's Room, the basement with the lifeboats, and just generally explore the town. But otherwise, I think that wraps up this video. There's a lot of cool worlds I didn't get to mention, like Tron returning would be really cool. There's that Rinsler cliffhanger in Dream Drop Distance they still haven't, followed up on. There's Princess and the Frog, Zootopia, Incredibles, Elemental, the list goes on and on and on. But I want to know what you guys think. What are your picks for worlds in Kingdom Hearts 4? And let me know why. Why would you pick these worlds? Goodbye for now, and may your heart be your guiding key.